Um, Usually when we talk about a major crisis hitting the global economy, we tend to picture something sudden.
Right. Like a single event.
Exactly. Stock market crash
Right.
or a natural disaster. Something that just dominates the news cycle with big flashing red graphics and like urgent press conferences.
Something you can point to on a calendar and say, well, that is the exact day everything changed.
Right. But what if I told you that the most severe crisis facing critical global industries right now isn't an explosion, but more of a quiet, orderly exit?
It's a really unsettling thought.
It is. So for you, the learner listening right now, I want you to picture the control room of a nuclear power plant or, the engineering floor of a major aerospace manufacturer or even a surgical ward.
High stakes environments.
Exactly. Now, imagine half the people in that room, the ones who have been there the longest, the ones who just like instinctively know how to fix a turbine when it makes that weird humming noise.
Oh, veterans.
Yeah. Imagine half of them simply standing up, packing up their favorite coffee mugs and just walking out the door. Forever.
It's a chilling visual. And the most alarming part is that we aren't discussing some hypothetical scenario here.
No, we really aren't.
We are looking at a demographic certainty, one that's unfolding right now.
Which is exactly why we are here today. Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
We have secured an exclusive preview of a major white paper and a highly anticipated announcement dropping tomorrow.
April 10th, 2026.
That's the date. This is coming out of Irvine, California, from two entities that are fundamentally changing the landscape. That's EON Reality and EON AI Ventures.
Right.
And our mission today is to unpack the core framework at the heart of their announcement, a concept they're calling AI Fluency.
Now, I know if your initial reaction to the phrase AI fluency is to just roll your eyes.
It sounds like corporate jargon.
Exactly, because it sounds like just another buzzword for teaching, like, the accounting department how to write better chatbot prompts. But I encourage you to hold that thought.
Yeah, this is way beyond chatbots.
It's operating on a completely different scale. It is a mission-critical architecture. And it's designed to bridge this massive looming gap between the rapid technological disruption of AI and actual on-the-ground workforce readiness.
Right, in those high-stakes environments we just mentioned.
Exactly. The primary objective of AI Fluency is figuring out how enterprises can capture human genius, that deep, nuanced physical expertise.
Before it retires.
Yes, before it retires, and then synthesizing that captured genius to train the next generation so they can perform at peak levels.
So to understand why this AI Fluency framework is so, urgent, we really need to look at the exact dimensions of this crisis.
The numbers are pretty wild.
The data in this white paper is genuinely staggering. It projects that nearly 50% of experienced professionals across global industries are expected to retire in the next 5 to 7 years.
Half.
Half.
Yeah.
Half of the accumulated operational knowledge in the global workforce just walking out the door in less than a decade.
Yeah, and the source material points out that this mass exodus is creating deep knowledge silos.
Especially in specific fields, right?
Yes, specifically in fields critical to public safety, advanced engineering, and complex logistics. We are not talking about losing institutional knowledge on how to format a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
We are talking about losing the operational muscle memory that literally keeps power grids online and commercial airplanes in the sky.
Okay, here is where I want to challenge the panic a little bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because I'm looking at another statistic right here in the text. It states that generic AI models, the standard large language models we're all using now, they're already fulfilling 80% of the training cap.
I see where you're going with this.
Right. Like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
If generic AI is already handling 80% of the problem, that sounds like a solid B-. If we grade on a curve, maybe even an A-.
Sure.
So why are the alarm bells ringing so loudly if these off-the-shelf algorithms are doing 80% of the heavy lifting?
Well, that assumption is the exact trap so many organizations are falling into right now. The white paper refers to this kind of implicitly as the 80% trap.
The 80% trap. Okay, explain that.
An 80% success rate is perfectly fine if you are automating, say, routine administrative tasks.
Right.
Like if a generic AI writes a marketing email and it's 80% good, a human editor tweaks a few sentences, and you hit send, no harm done.
Yeah, nobody gets hurt over a clunky sentence in a newsletter. The stakes are low.
Exactly. But the source material is explicitly clear about where this generic approach breaks down. Traditional training and standard AI solutions are falling 20% short in applying knowledge effectively in environments where absolute precision is non-negotiable.
Wow. Okay.
The text highlights a specific statistic. 1 in 3 critical industries globally rely on precision AI.
1 in 3.
Right. Think about aviation maintenance or complex healthcare procedures. In those environments, an 80% success rate isn't an A minus.
It's a catastrophic failure.
Exactly. You don't want an airplane engine that functions properly 80% of the time.
No, definitely not. And you certainly don't want a surgeon who is only, 80% sure which artery to clamp.
Right. There is zero margin for error in these sectors. So that 20% gap that generic AI leaves behind is the deadliest gap imaginable.
It's the difference between knowing the theory
Mm.
and actually executing it physically.
Perfectly said. It is the gap between an AI knowing the written rules of a machine and having the deep, hard-won human expertise to know what to do when those rules suddenly don't apply.
Like if a sensor's iced
Or
over.
a valve is stripped, exactly. That final 20% is where human safety, operational throughput, and the actual structural integrity of an organization live.
So employers are facing this brutal dual challenge. They're losing the unparalleled depth of their senior talent while simultaneously realizing the generic AI tools they bought to replace that training.
They just can't handle the physical reality of the work.
Right, the precision. Which naturally brings us to the proposed solution.
Yeah.
If that 20% gap is truly a matter of life and death, how do we save that absolute precision?
Right.
How do we actually capture the mastery of these retiring experts before it just vanishes?
Well, the first major pillar of EON AI Ventures solution addresses exactly that. They call it the knowledge retention framework.
Okay, so when I first read this section of the white paper, my mind immediately went to a sci-fi scenario.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
I just pictured downloading a retiring master mechanic's brain directly onto a thumb drive, plugging it into a corporate mainframe and having this static archive of every trick they learned over 40 years.
I mean, that is a really common way people visualize it. But the reality EON is proposing is much more dynamic than a thumb drive.
How so?
Well, a thumb drive implies a static, dead archive. It's the equivalent of an old corporate wiki that nobody reads. Or like a dusty training manual sitting on a shelf.
Right, which isn't very helpful when you're under a machine trying to fix it.
Exactly. So instead of a thumb drive, think of it more like creating a digital ghost of that master mechanic.
A digital ghost. That's a cool way to put it.
Right. An active AI apprentice that has watched them work for 40 years and can now stand over the shoulder of a new employee to guide their hands. The source describes this as converting domain-specific, nuanced expertise into, and this is a quote, persistent, evolving repositories of actionable knowledge.
Okay, I want to pause on that phrase. Persistent, evolving repositories of actionable knowledge. Because, it sounds like heavy corporate jargon.
It does a bit.
What is the actual mechanism there? Like, how does it evolve?
It evolves because it isn't just a digitized textbook. When a veteran engineer troubleshoots a rare failure on a factory floor, they aren't just following a checklist.
Right, they're feeling it out.
Yes, they are using spatial awareness. They are applying a very specific amount of physical torque to a wrench. They are listening for a specific acoustic change in a motor.
Things you can't just write down in a manual.
Exactly. So the knowledge retention framework leverages advanced AI to map those physical, spatial, and decision-making logics. It captures those unwritten gut instincts and embeds them into a system that constantly updates as new edge cases are encountered and solved.
That makes sense.
The white paper uses a crucial term for this. They call it data-to-action continuity.
Data-to-action continuity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, breaking that down, it implies what? Closing the loop between the raw information sitting in a database and the actual physical movement required to execute a task.
That is the core of the issue right there. It ensures the deep expertise of veterans thrives within new AI-powered systems rather than just sitting in a file folder.
So when a new employee faces a complex problem,
The AI isn't just feeding them a generic paragraph of text. It is providing the actionable, nuanced sequence of physical steps that the 40-year veteran would have demonstrated. It translates raw data into precise physical action.
okay, so we have captured the genius. We have the digital ghost in the machine, as you said.
Right.
But having the knowledge lock in an AI system is only half the battle. Now we need to understand the engine of AI fluency. Getting that knowledge out of the computer and into the hands and minds of a brand new 22-year-old hire, that seems like a massive operational leap.
It is a massive leap.
So how does EON actually transfer this captured mastery without causing a massive bottleneck in operations?
Well, they utilize an outcome-centric training model that covers the entire operational life cycle. The source breaks this down into a 4-step progression: learn, train, perform, and automate.
Okay.
The first two seem relatively intuitive to me. Learn is where they optimize the time to competency, right? By tailoring AI-based resources for both hard and soft skill,
Exactly. Giving them the foundation.
giving the worker the foundational knowledge, and then train gets them practicing the procedures. But here's where I have to play devil's advocate,
Okay, let's hear it.
specifically regarding the third step, perform. Because the source claims this structure reduces risk and boosts new higher effectiveness from day one.
It does claim that.
Let's put ourselves in the shoes of an aviation director or, a facility manager at an oil refinery. How on earth can a company confidently put a day one hire into a high-stakes, data-rich physical environment without risking a massive failure?
It's a terrifying thought.
Right. You cannot simply hand someone a VR headset, pat them on the back, and say, go fix the jet turbine, the AI believes in you. You are absolutely right to be skeptical, and that exact fear is why legacy training systems are failing us. They lack a mechanism for absolute verification.
Absolute verification.
But if you examine the implementation details in the text, EON AI Ventures has built a specific answer for that exact day one risk. It is a feature called Assess IQ, and it relies on what they term precision verification instruments.
Assess IQ. Walk me through how this actually works. Is it just like a highly advanced multiple choice test at the end of the VR module?
Not at all, and that is a really vital distinction. Traditional training usually ends with a worker answering questions on a screen.
Right.
They score an 85%, human resources checks a box, and they are deemed ready.
But as we established earlier, an 85% in aviation maintenance is a disaster waiting to happen.
Exactly. So Assess IQ systematically validates task readiness against strict industry-defined parameters, and it does this within a 3D data-rich modeling environment.
Wait, but passing a simulation, even a really good one, doesn't mean you won't freeze up or make a mistake when you're out on the tarmac and real sparks start flying.
True.
How does Assess IQ measure actual physical readiness?
By measuring the granular physics of the interaction?
The granular physics.
Yes. In these immersive environments, the system isn't just checking if you selected the right tool from a drop-down menu. It tracks your spatial positioning.
Oh, wow.
It monitors exactly where your eyes are looking. It measures how many seconds you hesitate before making a critical decision. It evaluates whether you applied the correct sequence of physical movements under simulated duress.
That's incredibly detailed.
Because the AI has already captured the exact data-to-action continuity of the retiring expert's that digital ghost, it has a flawless mathematical model of what perfect execution looks like.
Right.
So it will not allow the worker to pass to the real-world perform stage until their physical spatial actions in the simulation match the master's benchmark with 100% precision.
Okay, so it's essentially a simulated pressure picker.
Exactly.
It forces the worker to demonstrate absolute physical competency, entirely removing the subjective guesswork from human resources and operational deployment.
It guarantees that the worker's knowledge has successfully transitioned into reliable action before they ever touch live machinery.
Wow.
Which leads us directly into the final step of the life cycle, automate.
Okay, now when I hear automate, my mind usually jumps to, like, robots entirely replacing human workers on an assembly line.
A lot of people think that.
But reading the text, they are framing this very differently, aren't they?
Very differently. The white paper frames automate around lifetime workforce adaptability, not human replacement.
Okay, explain that.
Once the worker is actually performing in the field, the AI doesn't just stop interacting with them. It begins automating the repetitive, lower-level workflows surrounding their tasks.
Like what?
It handles the diagnostic reporting, the data logging, the initial anomaly detection, all the paperwork, essentially.
Oh, that's huge.
Right. So as the human becomes more skilled, the AI absorbs that mundane operational friction, which frees up the human to operate at a higher level of critical thinking and complex problem solving.
So it creates this symbiotic relationship that just scales up the overall enterprise capability.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've thoroughly broken down the mechanics. We understand the theory of AI fluency and the life cycle used to implement it. But looking at the name on this white paper, EON Reality, I have a major question.
Let's hear it.
I know EON Reality. They are a spatial computing company.
Yes, they are.
They are famous for augmented and virtual reality headsets and 3D modeling. They have, what, over 25 years of experience across 6 continents doing immersive training.
That's correct.
So what business does an XR company have building a global AI fluency framework?
That is perhaps the most profound insight buried in this entire announcement. It explains exactly why generic AI is currently failing critical industries.
How so?
Think about the medium of generic AI today. Most consumer AI tools and enterprise learning platforms are based entirely on flat text.
Right. You type a prompt into a box, and the large language model generates a paragraph of text in return.
It's essentially a highly advanced chat interface.
Yeah.
But high-stakes operations do not happen in flat text. Flying a commercial plane, repairing an offshore wind turbine, performing microscopic surgery, these actions take place in the physical, three-dimensional world.
That makes perfect sense.
You cannot read a text manual to acquire spatial awareness or muscle memory.
Right. Knowing the dictionary definition of a surgical incision is entirely different from the physical act of actually making one.
Exactly. Flat text is fundamentally insufficient for precision physical labor. EON AI Ventures was established specifically to bridge that gap by utilizing 25 years of immersive spatial computing experience.
Ah, I see.
They realized that for AI to be truly fluent in a human workforce, the AI needs to communicate in the same dimensions the human works in, 3D space.
Okay, so how does that actually manifest in their product suite? Because the source mentions a few specific platforms they're using to achieve this.
Right, so they are utilizing their enterprise AI platform that supports operational intelligence by processing all that complex real-time data.
Yeah.
But then they route that intelligence through platforms like Virtual Campus and Virtual Compass, and those are designed for scalable, immersive training and certification. They are fundamentally changing the medium of training from text-based instructions to data-rich 3D modeling.
So they are taking the massive predictive power and logic of artificial intelligence and marrying it directly to the spatial mapping of XR.
Exactly.
That explains why they're uniquely positioned to solve that deadly 20% gap, because achieving precision in the physical world requires an AI training environment that perfectly mimics the physics and spatial realities of the real world.
You nailed it. It allows organizations to integrate these massive AI-driven solutions across a global footprint without sacrificing the local physical nuances required at individual facilities.
There's a quote in the source text from Dan Ledroscar, he's the chairman of EON AI Ventures and EON Reality, that really anchors this entire shift in perspective.
Oh, I know the one you mean.
He states, organizations that succeed in the AI era will be those capable of transforming workforce potential into enterprise precision.
Enterprise precision. That phrase perfectly encapsulates why this framework exists.
It really does.
In the current landscape, every company boasts about their potential. Every new hire has potential. But potential does not keep a city's power grid online during a storm. Precision does.
He goes on to say, AI fluency is no longer optional. It is the only path forward to ensure repeatable success in systems where every detail counts.
Right.
And when you look back at that 50% retirement cliff we discussed at the top of the deep dive, it's incredibly hard to argue with that urgency. Organizations simply do not have the luxury of time anymore.
They don't. AI Fluency acts as the definitive accelerator here. The traditional method of having a junior employee shadow a senior master for 5 years simply will not work when that senior master is retiring in 5 months.
Yeah, the math just doesn't work.
Industries require drastically shortened gestation cycles for training. They need immediate operational readiness, and they need it without compromising safety.
So to synthesize this entire journey for you listening, we're standing on the edge of a generational knowledge drain unlike anything in modern industrial history.
Truly.
Half of the world's deep experts are quietly packing up their desks. And while the generic AI tools we use every day are fantastic for drafting emails or summarizing meeting notes, they simply are not precise enough to save us in critical industries where a 20% failure rate is a catastrophe.
The path forward lies in AI fluency. Through a rigorous, verified life cycle of learning, training, performing, and automating, platforms like EON serve as the crucial bridge.
Right.
They capture the digital ghosts of human expertise, that deep, unwritten physical intuition, and they scale it with machine precision using immersive 3D environments and rigorous verification tools like AssessIQ.
It fundamentally reframes our relationship with this technology. It transforms the anxiety over AI replacing human workers into a framework where AI actively empowers human workers to perform flawlessly from day one.
It's an incredible shift, which actually brings us to a final lingering question for you to ponder long after this deep dive ends.
Oh, I like this. Lay it on us.
We have spent all this time exploring how global enterprises are scrambling to capture, digitize, and automate the absolute mastery of the retiring generation as spatial computing platforms begin to flawlessly map and replicate that deep, lifelong expertise. What is the unautomatable 20% of your own skill set?
Wow.
As the machines master the precision of the past, what is the uniquely human spark that makes you truly indispensable for the future?
A profound question to leave you with as you watch the experts around you head for the exits. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, keep exploring the frameworks that are shaping tomorrow, and we will catch you on the next one.